Hello and welcome to Broke with Audiophile Taste, my channel where I talk about records. Today, I'm joining in on the Vinyl Tag 2022. I only started my channel, I think not quite 2 weeks ago, and I had never heard of the Vinyl Tag thing. And just heard about it and thought that's the kind of thing I do, so here it is. I'm going to try to rapid fire through all these. Got a bunch of records with me, and here we go. Number 1. Favorite LP bought in 2021. That's going to be Guided by Voices Propeller reissue. These are great. The Scat Records is, they're supposed to have more out by now, but RTI has not been able to press them fast enough. As we all know, they're far behind. I had these originally as the box set that came out in the 90s, which was great, and this has the same mastering as those LPs from that box set, but this has the tip-on jackets instead of just the cover on an inner sleeve for each of the albums. So I much prefer having them this way. I sold that box set with my record collection when I sold it in 2005, stupidly, and got back into buying records about 5 years ago, and I'm so happy that Scat is putting those back out. Most expensive of 2021. Well, there's a couple of them. But I'm just going to go with this one, the all-analog cut of Loveless. My understanding is you basically couldn't get this in the States. That I don't know if it's licensing reasons or what, but they're not, they've put this on sale a couple of times in the last few years, and they would only ship to Europe. And I happen to be married to an Austrian, and I tried to get it sent to my brother-in-law, but I couldn't get a hold of him in time, and it sold out really quickly. I fortunately was able to find someone in Germany who was selling it cheap enough such that this cost, I think, $55 or so for the purchase price and to have it sent over. So I actually feel like I got kind of a deal on this to get it at that price. And there was a couple others in that price range, but went with that one. First live show. So the first band I ever saw was Yes on the Union Tour in 1991 at the, what was that called? The Globe Theater in Chicagoland area. So here's the Rhino vinyl reissue of Close to the Edge, cut by Chris Bellman. Awesome. I feel like this is the only version you ever need to own. It sounds unbelievable. Cut from the original analog master tapes. Love it. Up to number 4, new artists in 2021. Here's the thing. I buy almost exclusively reissues. I'm 45 years old. I've gotten to that point in my life where I don't get into a lot of new stuff. I guess I don't mean that as an excuse that I'm 45, so of course that's the deal. But I've fallen into that trap of like not buying a lot of new stuff. And plus, since I'm rebuilding a collection to a certain degree that I sold in 2005, that's what I put a lot of my effort into. So the closest thing I got to that, this is one of the few sort of new albums I bought in 2021. Carcass's Torn Arteries. Great album by my favorite heavy metal band. Album in the Shrink, number 5 album in the Shrink. That's easy for me because that's my default thing. In general, I always leave everything in the Shrink, if at all possible. So I thought I'd bust out one that was maybe not super common to still have in the Shrink because it's so big and bulky and complicated. But Beach Boys Smile, from whatever this was, 2017, I think it was. Oh, even earlier, 2011? I think I got it in 2017. Anyway, that one's still in the Shrink. And the next one is number 6, a concept album. Fucked Up, David Comes to Life, 10th anniversary reissue. Just got this a few weeks ago. I did a video on it, which you can see. One of the first videos I ever did. Number 7, album you love but not too much love lately. I wasn't totally sure what that even meant. I went with this one. Grand Heart's The Argument. Absolutely love it. Haven't listened to it in a while. You could also interpret that as like haven't given it a lot of love, like maybe not treated it as well as you wanted to. So like there was a show that I did a few years ago where I played a few songs from this, and so like I was just like taking the inner sleeves out quite a bit and using those for the lyrics and whatnot. And so it's not that it's in horrible shape or anything like that, but I haven't listened to it a lot lately, and there was a while where it got a lot of use, and maybe isn't quite as pristine as it could be otherwise. Alright, so number 8, live album. And I don't get a ton of live albums, but here's one that I got last year. Ramones Triple J live at the Wireless, Capitol Theatre, Sydney, Australia, July 8th, 1980. So there's been this whole series of Record Store Days Ramones live albums, and I think they're awesome. I absolutely love them. And this one was from the End of the Century tour. So it's really cool to hear those End of the Century songs being played. Live album. LP from a different continent. Wasn't, there's plenty of LPs I have from Europe, so I wasn't really sure how to handle that. I went with this Japanese mono reissue of John Coltrane's Giant Steps, seeing as how there's that ERC reissue of this coming up. And I just want to say this cost $60, and it sounds fucking great, and the cover's awesome. Like, everything about this is about as good as I can imagine. Can imagine that the ERC version might sound 1 or 2% better, but at 10 times the cost. Anyway, I'm not going to turn this to an ERC bashing session. I'm just saying, you can still get this. There's not that many copies left out there, but you can get it, and I love it. It's awesome, and I'm glad I have it. Different content. Number 10, most out of the comfort zone. I'm pretty picky about what I buy. I don't have as huge of a collection as a lot of people out there who are just way into vinyl. I'm way into vinyl, but I don't have a huge budget, as you can tell by the name of my channel. And so I really got to sort of pick and choose. So this is the closest I could come up with spiritualized pure phase. And I got the glow in the dark vinyl. And not too long after this, I saw people like Michael Ludwig's talking about how it's noisy, and it sure as heck is. I did clean it with wood glue, and that helped, but it's less noisy after having done that. Anyway, out of my comfort zone, yeah, like this isn't really the kind of thing I typically get, and I saw them once at the Pitchfork Music Fest 10-15 years ago. I can't remember exactly when anymore, and I actually liked them a lot in that context, and finally got into them with these new reissues. Get into them is the wrong word. Tried to get into them, and it hasn't stuck yet. It's too much out of my comfort zone, I suppose, even though I liked them live that one time. Punk New Wave. I got the new Descendants record, which I love. It's so catchy. When I first got this, I listened to it every day for 2-3 weeks, just nonstop, and then I kind of got worn out on it. But anyway, this is early material that they re-recorded with the original lineup. Yeah, I love this. All right, what are we up to? Jazz album. Well, isn't this a great time to be getting into jazz, right? I'm not a jazz guy. I've long liked A Love Supreme and a handful of other albums. Miles Davis is who I got into the most when I first started getting into jazz 25 years ago or something like that. And then more recently, I've been kind of broadening my horizons with jazz because there's been so many just insanely good reissues. This whole acoustic sound series, it's just unbelievable. So there's several I could have picked. This is the kind of my favorite at the moment. So I went with that one. And we're up to what? Soundtrack is next. Ghost Dog soundtrack. One of my favorite movies. Great soundtrack. Thought about getting this for years. It was recently reissued. This doesn't sound amazing or anything, but glad to have it. Soundtrack. No writing. Trying to do some. I don't know how you pronounce the name of this album. Is it Is? Is it Wise? I'm gonna maybe look like a dum-dum for not knowing how to pronounce it, but I only recently got this, and I like it a lot. Okay, and now we're up to colored vinyl, and I've got several here and there. This is, I think, maybe the best looking one, the most recent Bob Mould album, Blue Hearts. It's a good looking record. I like it when they do stuff like that. And now what are we up to? Pride Dig. So I live in the middle of nowhere, and I don't really make it to record stores hardly ever. So almost everything I get is online, either through various people at Discogs, or I order a lot of my new stuff from Electric Fetus up in the cities. The closest thing I got to that is Caius's Blues for the Red Sun. This had been just hard to get and super expensive for quite a while, and then all of a sudden, bloop, a bunch of brand new ones just sort of plopped out onto Discogs. I don't get the impression it's because of a repress. Maybe it was, but my impression is it was because like they just like found a box of them somewhere or something. Anyway, so I got this for like $20 at a time when it was selling for, I don't know, 50 or a lot. So that's I suppose that's my Pride Dig of the last year. And from Past You Missed, yeah. I mean, I guess Richard Thompson's been on my radar for a long time. I just never really got any of his records, and then I finally pulled the trigger on this, $50 record or whatever, and I love it. This sounds awesome, and I've got several other Richard Thompson titles in the meantime, some with his then wife, and really digging it. So last year was the year I finally got into Richard Thompson. Box set. Way down in the rust bucket. Coolest cover. I had a hard time with that one. Ended up just deciding to go with this Oliver Nelson. Mostly because just this series in general, the quality of these covers are just fucking nuts. Look at these things. Just so well printed and so glossy and just holy shit. And these things cost like, $35-40. That's how it should be, man. Final one, present. This is a present I got my kids. I had this when I was a kid. Got it for my kids. They dig it. I dig it. No one dares to give me a record as a present because I'm so specific about the ones that I want that it's hopeless. All right, that's my Vinyl Tag 2022. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for your time. See ya on my next video.